Hello, everyone. My name is Sarafi, and I'm happy to meet you all. And today, we are going to be playing Blackwings. Blackwings are a deck that has been notoriously expensive. As you can see, the entire top row is ultra rares, and most of the bottom row is as well. But this deck has a lot of meaning to a lot of people. Crow Hogan is a very popular character from 5Ds, and I wanted to showcase a deck that I think will be a fan favorite so you guys can know that this deck does have some potential in the current meta. The skill that we're using is called Blackwind to the Top. And what it does is if you begin the game with an extra deck that contains at least 3 Blackwing monsters, at the beginning of the duel, place 1 mountain on your field and add 1 Blackwinged dragon to your extra deck. In addition, once per duel, you can select 1 Blackwinged dragon you control and place a black feather counter on it. The second effect isn't relevant, but the first effect of gaining a free mountain is extremely good, and let's talk about why. Our best card is Blackwing Simoon the Poison Wind. This is a level 6 monster, and its effect states, if you control no monsters and you have this card in your hand, you can banish 1 other Blackwing monster from your hand, place a Black Whirlwind from your deck face up in your spell and trap zone, then either send this card to the graveyard or immediately after this effect resolves, normal summon it without tributing. You cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck for the rest of the turn except dark monsters. You can only use this effect of Blackwing Summon the Poison Wind once per turn, and during the end phase, send the Black Whirlwind placed by this effect to the graveyard, and if you do, take 1000 damage. Woo! Alright, so that's a lot of text. What does that mean? It means that we get to dig for the best card in our deck, Black Whirlwind. Black Whirlwind's effect states, when a Blackwing monster is normal summoned to your side of the field, you can add 1 Blackwing monster from your deck to your hand with less attack than that monster. Not only is this not a once per turn effect, but you also can control more than 1 copy of Black Whirlwind. So if you start with a Black Whirlwind in your hand and you activate Simoon's effect, you actually get 4 monsters, because you get to normal summon Simoon for free as part of its effect, trigger both Black Whirlwinds, draw 2 cards off Simoon. Then one of the cards that you draw, you can normal summon again for turn and draw 2 more cards. So it's an insane deck acceleration thinning card, and you will see a lot of play with it. Now, this means that the mountain that we got is extremely important, because when your monster hits the field, it has 200 more attack points than it should. Why is that good? It means that you can search other monsters of the same name or attack points with a monster, because Black Whirlwind is essentially designed to make sure you don't draw the same card by saying that it has to have less attack points. Mountain makes sure that you can draw cards that have the same number of attack points. For example, if you normal summon Blackwing Gale the Whirlwind, you can draw another Blackwing Gale the Whirlwind because that monster has 1300 attack points, and your Blackwing Gale the Whirlwind on the field has 1500 attack points because you summoned it while you had Mountain out. Next up for the main deck, we have Blackwing Zephyros the Elite. If this card is in your graveyard, you can return 1 face-up card you control to the hand, special summon this card, and if you do, take 400 damage. You can only use this effect once per duel. This is the other monster in our deck that we can't special summon for free, so this is a card you will draw off of Simoon, and this will be your second normal summon for the turn. You link this card off, you synchro summon it away, and then you activate its effect and return the Black Whirlwind in your graveyard to your hand in order to get Zephyros the Elite back on the field, and by returning the Black Whirlwind to your hand, it doesn't go to the graveyard and you don't take 1000 damage. So that's a pretty good effect to pay 400 damage for. Blackwing Boar the Spear, 1700 attack points. It has piercing, and if you control a Blackwing monster other than Blackwing Boar the Spear, you can special summon this card from your hand. No once per turn. If you have 3 of these, it's a really good card. I only run 1, but I feel like I only need 1. Gale the Whirlwind, also not once per turn. If you control a Blackwing monster other than Blackwing Gale the Whirlwind, you can special summon this card from your hand. And then as a soft once, you can target 1 face-up monster your opponent controls. That target's attack and defense become half its current attack and defense permanently. Wow, is this effect really good. So it's a level 3 tuner. It's actually one of the only 2 tuners in our deck, and it will give you everything that you need. It's a fantastic card. You should definitely run 3 of it. I don't have 3 Black Whirlwinds. If you have 3 Black Whirlwinds, I would probably cut 1 Effect Veiler to run a 3rd Black Whirlwind here, but I would definitely keep 1 Effect Veiler for the absolute destruction that it rains. It's also a tuner. Alright, we have Blackwing Chris the Crack of Dawn. If you control a Blackwing monster other than Blackwing Chris the Crack of Dawn, you can special summon this card from your hand. You can only special summon Blackwing Chris the Dawn once per turn this way, and once per turn, this card cannot be destroyed by spells or traps. This card has 1900 attack points, so if you normal summon this card while you have Black Whirlwind out, you draw literally anything from your deck. It's fantastic. Next up, we have Blackwing Harmana in the Dust. If you control a Blackwing monster other than Blackwing Harmana in the Dust, you can special summon this card from your hand. When this card is normal special summon, you can target one other Blackwing monster you control, increase this card's level by that monster's. So you use this card in combination with Blackwing Gale the Whirlwind. Gale the Whirlwind is level 3, Harmana in the Dust is level 2, so if you target Gale the Whirlwind, this becomes level 5, this is level 3, that lets you make any of your level 8s. Very good card. Then we have Orochi the Squall. If you control a Blackwing monster other than Blackwing Orochi the Squall, you can special summon this card from your hand once per turn, and if this card is sent to the graveyard as synchro material, you can target one monster on the field and change its battle position. That's a pretty nice effect. The main use of this is to make use of your Simoon, because Simoon is an awkward level. So Orochi the Squall lets you turn Simoon into a level 7, which will be either Raikiri the Rainshower or Obsidian Hawk Joe. We are running 2 Raikiri the Rainshowers and 1 Obsidian Hawk Joe to fulfill the requirements of the skill. We have Mystical Space Typhoon at 2. This card is important to make sure that you get rid of Disruption before your combo starts. Then we have Blackbird Close. This card is amazing. When a monster your opponent controls activates effect, you can send one Blackwing monster you control to the graveyard, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy it. Then you can special summon one Blackwing Dragon from your extra deck. If you control a Blackwing Synchro monster or Blackwing Dragon, you can activate this card from your hand. Insane. So you send one of your cards to the graveyard, you negate your opponent's monster effect and destroy that monster, and this is a counter trap, so your opponent cannot respond to it unless they also have a counter trap, and you get to then summon Blackwing Dragon. You could send a Orochi the Squall to the graveyard, and you instantly get Blackwing Dragon. And we're not running Blackwing Dragon, but the skill gives us a free Blackwing Dragon, so there you go. I love this card, I love this ability, and the fact that you can activate it from hand means your opponent will never expect it. It's fantastic. For the extra deck, we have Draco Berserker of the Tenyi. I'm sure you will all know what this card does at this point, but 1 tuner, 1 non-tuner. When your opponent activates a monster effect as a quick effect, you can banish it. If this attacking card destroys an effect monster by battle and sends it to the graveyard, it gains attack points equal to the destroyed monster's original attack points permanently. Also, it can make another attack on a monster of this battle phase. Pretty good. Scarlight Red Dragon Archfiend, 3000 attack, 2500 defense, 1 tuner plus 1 or more non-tuners. This card's name becomes Red Dragon Archfiend while it is on the field or in the graveyard, and once per turn you can destroy as many special summoned effect monsters on the field as possible with attack less than or equal to this card's other than this card, then inflict 250 damage to your opponent for each monster destroyed. So this will not work on Draco Berserker the Tenyi or Blue Eyes White Dragon because they're normal monsters, but otherwise it's a really good card. And it's important to note that the Mountain works on this card, which means its attack points goes up to 3,200, so it can hit a lot of targets. Next up, we have Void Ogre Dragon. 3,000 attack, 3,000 defense. Requires a Dark Tuner. We have plenty of those. Once per turn, during either player's turn, when your opponent activates a spell or trap card while you have no cards in your hand, you can negate the activation and destroy it. The fact that this card has 3,000 defense points, which goes up to 3,200 with the skill, is really, really strong against Blackluster Soldier specifically. I love this card. Raikiri requires 1 tuner and 1 or more non-tuners. If this card is synchro summoned using a Blackwing monster as material, it is treated as a tuner monster while it is face up on the field. That is not optional. Once per turn, you can target cards your opponent controls up to the number of other Blackwing monsters you control and destroy them. This is a soft once per turn, which is why we're running 2 Raikiris. Make 2 of them, and then pop everything. Blackwing Tamer Obsidian Hawk Joe requires a Blackwing tuner and 1 or more non-tuner Blackwing monsters. You can target 1 level 5 or higher Wing Beast monster in your graveyard, special summon it. During either player's turn, when your opponent activates a card or effect that targets only Obsidian Hawk Joe, or when your opponent targets Obsidian Hawk Joe for attack, you can target 1 other Blackwing monster you control that would be an appropriate target. That card, effect, or attack now targets the new target. You can only use each effect of Blackwing Tamer Obsidian Hawk Joe once per turn. Mostly this card is used to revive Raikiri after it's already been destroyed. You can also use it to revive Simoon if you want to, and then link it off into your Wee Witch's Apprentice, which is requires 2 dark monsters. Makes all your dark monsters in the field gain 500 attack and defense, and all light monsters in the field lose 400 attack and defense. If this card is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can target 1 dark monster in your graveyard and add it to your hand. Basically, you can synchro this into Obsidian Hawk Joe with Orochi the Squall, and then you bring back your Zephyros the Elite from the graveyard, and you revive Simoon with Obsidian Tamer Hawk Joe. Then you've got like these 2 monsters on the field. Neither of them are tuners. They don't really work together for Xyz summoning, so you just link them off into Wee Witch's Apprentice and buff the rest of your field. It's a nice little option because Obsidian Hawk Joe basically makes it free and then has 3,000 attack points. Lastly, we have Evil Swarm Nightmare. Requires 2 dark monsters, and when your opponent special summons a monster, you can detach 1 Xyz material from this card, change it to face down defense position, and it is not once per turn. So just book 2 of your opponent's monsters. Fantastic. Okay, So the goal on turn 1 is to make either Void Ogre Dragon or Draco Berserker the Tenyi, depending on the matchup. Turn 2, try and pop the entire field with Scarlet Red Dragon Archfiend or a Raikiri the Rainshower and kill your opponent. Always Simoon. Always. And let's take a look at the replay. Our opponent is playing Crusadia, so he's going to normal summon his Maximus and link it off into Magius. Special summon Arborea, activate Magius to draw Reclusia. Link those two off into Regulus. Nothing we haven't seen before. Reclusia to Regulex to grab Crusadia Power. Link off into Equimax, and then the last monster that he can summon is going to be Draco, so of course he still has Draco. Draco, get back the Reclusia so he can pop one of my cards next turn. Sets the Crusadia Power and gains 2,000 life points. Okay, so it's our turn, and now we don't have any of our normal summons, so we're going to have to normal summon our Blackwing Gale the Whirlwind. That lets us special summon Chris the Crack of Dawn, and then we can also special summon Gale the Whirlwind. We're going to activate Gale the Whirlwind. We are going to target the Crusadia Equimax to have its attack points permanently. That is going to trigger our opponent to activate Crusadia Power, which is completely fine. We synchro the Blackwing Gale the Whirlwind that we already used the effect of, which is also the monster that was pointing to Crusadia Equimax, to make our Raikiri the Rainshower. We activate Gale the Whirlwind's effect, and we are going to reduce the attack points of Crusadia Draco by half, so that we can beat over it with our Gale the Whirlwind. And for some reason, our opponent decides to respond by activating Crusadia Equimax's effect to negate Blackwing Gale the Whirlwind until end of turn. Not sure why. So he tributes that, and I could activate Blackbird Close here, but because he's already played Crusadia Power, I would not be able to destroy his Crusadia Equimax, so I'm going to go ahead and let that resolve. Alright, I just beat over it, and I'm expecting him to save his monster with Arborea, but he doesn't, so I attack him directly and pass turn. His turn, he has Maximus in his hand, so he's going to link that off into Magius. And I'm worried about chain blocking here. I want to get rid of his Link monster, but I don't want to walk into a situation where he special summons to this zone, and then Magius triggers, and then this monster triggers, and my Blackbird Close can't hit Magius. So I go ahead and I use Effect Veiler right here to try and limit his options. But he hard drew the second Crusadia Power, so my plans are squashed. He special summons Reclusia to add Draco, and he doesn't activate Reclusia's effect because he needs to link it off. Reclusia does destroy itself if you use its effect. He's going to link into Spatha so that he can play some tricks. He's trying to make sure that he can get rid of my Gale the Whirlwind. He activates Spatha's effect. He's going to move my Gale the Whirlwind over here so that he can raise his Equimax's attack points. And his second effect is going to be Crusadia Draco, which allows him to target one of the monsters in his graveyard to add it back to his hand so he can continue link climbing. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to Blackbird Close, which will work on the Crusadia Draco, and will also send Gale the Whirlwind from my field to the graveyard so that I can't get moved over to that zone. However, he uses his Arborea's effect to prevent his monster from being destroyed. And that means, because this then here, because I did not destroy his monster, I can't special summon Blackwing Dragon from my extra deck. He passes back to me. I have my Raikiri on the field, so I can just destroy his entire board, and he surrenders. There you go. The Blackwings swooping in and claiming victory from the jaws of defeat against Crusadia, one of the most powerful decks on the ladder. Thank you very much for joining me. My name is Sarafi, and I was thrilled to have you all with me.